The world can be a loud place sometimes, full of opinions, negativity, and a constant pressure to be something that you're not. Welcome to Rooted and Refined. My name is Stacy, and I created this space for those of us who are ready to drown out the noise. A place where we can grow deep roots, be a little more grounded, and carry ourselves with a little bit more grace. We'll do that through gardening and patio chats. I'll show you through gardening how something as simple as a plant can be a metaphor for things we might be facing in our own lives. Even if you never want to pick up a shovel or plant anything in the dirt, you'll still get something out of this channel. My hope is this will be a channel where we can come together and create a community to help each other tune out the noise, worry less about what people think, and care more about ourselves and the spaces that we belong in. We're going to jump right into gardening today. We're going to replace this plant, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. But before we do that, let's take a little tour of my garden. It's not a lot. I'm not a master gardener, but it's my space, and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way as I've created this space. So I'd love to share it with you, and then we'll come back to this guy. We'll start with the patio. You'll spend some time here with me. And then we'll start to walk over to the side. We've got a burn ban, so please excuse the things in the fire pit, but that's part of what this channel is about. It's not perfection, and it's okay. We got some rain last night. We desperately needed it, so glad that happened. Sunshine ligustrum, hydrangea. My honeysuckle came back this year. I had to cut that to the ground last year. This whole area here is a new space I created 2 years ago, I think, maybe. And I created it specifically for these little lime punch hydrangeas and have filled it in with some verbena and some sedum. I have a little experiment this year with a seed packet that I sprinkled out. I am training a gardenia to be a standard and have planted some evening primrose in there as a filler. This Pinky Winky came to me last year. It was struggling, and it's looking a little better this year. Haven't filled the fountain yet. These New Guinea impatiens, the pink flowers, are annuals. They won't come back next year. The Asiatic jasmine are the green leaves that you see. The brown leaves that you see are last year's. They get burned in the winter, but they come back and it'll fill in great. These hydrangea over here. This one was planted several years ago and I just had to cut it back. It was very leggy. I just don't think it's getting enough sun in the space, but it did root a companion plant. So we may dig that up and put it somewhere else. The gardenias got a little bit burned over the winter. We had a very cold winter. They'll fill back in. This one's already starting to. Camellia right here has gotten very big. Coming over to the side yard now. This is a very shaded area. So you'll see I've got some hostas. I think I'm probably going to divide that hosta and fill in this space over here a bit. I put these stones down a few years ago. This whole area gets too much shade. It wasn't growing any grass, so the ground was constantly staying wet and we had some algae issues. So we put the stones down and then used some moisture-loving plants to help fill in the space. Got another camellia, some lemon coral sedum, hostas, another astilbe. Those will be blooming soon. And this was the space that kind of started it all. This space back here was a very narrow space when I first did it. And then we expanded it just a bit out. And we have a dog, so we wanted to keep a lot of grass area for the dog. But lots of space still to fill in. I've got some peonies. I've got one peony planted there and one that's just started to come up there. And then that one back there has a has a bud on it. I love these honeysuckle. It's ornamental, they're not invasive, but they just look stunning when they bloom. Lots of weeds. We're going to talk about weeds in another video. I got to get out here and take care of that. I want to stop for a second and point out this Gaura. I planted this Gaura last year and got some cuttings on it, I think in the fall. It rooted, all of my cuttings rooted. I got 3, and I got 3 plants out of those 3 cuttings. And I'm glad that I did, because that's our project for today. This Gaura was also planted last year, and half of it came back this year. So I dug it up, looked at it, tried to see if I could figure out what the problem was. You know, if the one side had root rot, if one side was eaten. We sometimes have moles and voles, and then put it back in the ground, and it just completely had enough. So we'll use one of our plants that we created last fall to replace that. And we'll talk a little bit more about the symbolism of this in just a bit. It rained last night. The peonies are falling over just a bit, but they're just gorgeous. This is their 2nd year. I wasn't sure if I would get blooms this year, and here they are. I planted another one here. There's some strawberries along the side, and behind the fence there's more space along the back where there's some squash, watermelon, and zucchini planted. So this is just giving you a overall view of the back so you can orient yourself as you watch these videos. The pollinators love it here, and I love that. And we'll move on to the front. All right, moving on to the front. This is the other side of where those stones were. Everything in the front, with the exception of these spirea, I planted, and I took that spirea from cuttings of that. The gardenias back there, which again didn't fare well during the winter, were planted by the builder. They overplanted, as builders tend to do. So I already thinned some gardenias out. I think I'm probably going to rework this space. Probably take you along for that as well. On the other side, I took out a lot of what the builder planted, and we also expanded this space. These coreopsis used to be where it ended, and we brought it out a little bit further before we put in the stone edging. This side area has been completely reworked within the last couple of weeks. I did have 2 gardenias in these spaces, one here, that I took from the front yard, and they were not doing well. So I took cuttings of the gardenias long ago and used that one. We'll see if maybe just one being here works a little bit better. I've also planted some more peonies, 2 in the back, 2 in the front. This one's still waiting to come up, but this one has broken through. And then just a few dahlias. And this mirrors it on this side. I like symmetry when I garden, although I'm learning that things don't have to be symmetrical and they still look great. All right, I'm gonna get some supplies and I'll meet you back at our project for the day. Okay, we're back here with our Gaura. So we'll take this one out of the ground, and I've got the new one that I rooted ready to put in its place. So we'll get some gloves on. And while I do this, let's talk about our first metaphor for how gardening can sometimes fit into a life circumstance. We take this Gaura, for instance. Last year it was very happy, it was thriving, it did exceptionally well. Looked just like the one that I showed you earlier next to it. This year, for whatever reason, it's not thriving. It doesn't like this place anymore. It's not doing well. This Gaura has to rely on me to take care of it. And by the way, that came out so easily because I just tried to look at the roots a few days ago. So it wasn't that easy a few days ago. But this Gaura has to depend on me. Everything it needs, it gets from me. And I decide when it leaves the place that it's in, when it's not doing well. But what about you? Who decides when you're not doing well, when you're not thriving in a particular place? Do you decide that, or do you let others make those decisions for you? And how does that work for you? There's no wrong or right answer. It's just a matter of being mindful. I'm going to plant this a little bit high. I suspect that Gaura did not do well because it was getting too much moisture on its roots. I didn't see any evidence of voles or moles. So I'm going to plant this a little bit high so this one has a better chance. So if you're mindful of how you're doing in any given situation and how well you're thriving or not thriving, you're better prepared to make the decisions that you may need to make of when do you make changes? Are you in a job that isn't working out for you? Are you in a relationship that isn't working out for you? We get stuck in our routines, even when those routines aren't working. And sometimes we have to take a step back, reevaluate the situation, and decide if it's the right place to be planted. I'll water this in later. Let's meet at the patio for now. So as I said in the beginning of this video, that's my hope for this channel. A place where we can learn from each other, grow with each other, and use something as simple as gardening to sort out some of the problems that we may be facing in our lives. I hope you'll join me. I'm excited about this journey. I'm excited about what we'll learn together. We won't always be gardening. Like I said, if you feel like you don't have a green thumb, you don't know the first thing, maybe this channel will help you learn a little bit of that along the way too. I didn't know anything about gardening when I started either. And I still, like I said at the beginning of this video, don't know everything. I don't claim to be a master gardener. I won't ever be a master gardener. My garden may never be as spectacular as the gardens that you'll see on other channels, and that's okay. That's the point of this channel. It's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to not have all of the answers. Let's figure it out together. So until next time, stay rooted and stay refined. I'll see you soon.